Hello and welcome to the Women Leading Show, the fireside. I'm getting a bit hot here, but the fireside festive chat. We've all donned our little hats, tinsel, as a very special kind of offering for our last show of the year, the Women Leading Show, which has come about as our the outcome of our fantastic book, The Women Leading Book. And we wanted to finish off the year with a special roundup of all the women who have been amazing in the year 2020, which has been an incredible year. But before we come on to that, let's start with who we've got here. So fantastic to have our guest author. We're all authors, obviously, of the Women Leading Book, but our extra special guest author this time is Frances from 50/50. Hi, Frances Scott.
Hi, Jo. Lovely to be here. Thanks so much for inviting me.
Oh no, pleasure, and it's great. It's kind of it fits in nicely because you were virtually the last chapter in the book, and obviously it fits in the lovely kind of remit of how the book is run. We also have our other authors and my co-hosts Kim-Adele Platts and Jo Sumner. Hi guys.
Hi, lovely. Okay.
Yeah, lovely to see you. And also our other author who has popped in before. So if you'd like to see Richard's specific show, you can do. But Richard Bellas, welcome again.
Hi, Jo. Always good to be here. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Oh, it's always nice, obviously, because the Women Leading Show, the movement, the book is a balanced conversation. So it's not just women, it's men. And Richard has played an incredible part in helping us on our journey, talking about equality and what is needed. So later on, we're going to come on to the women of 2020, and everyone here is going to talk about their woman. Most of us have got a long list, but I've been really strict with them, because I've got my naughty elf hat on, you see. So I'm going to be really naughty today and tell you, no, one only. So one only woman of 2020. But before we do that, let's come on to the chapter that Frances kindly donated to put in this book. Frances is the founder of 50/50. She set this organization up 7 years ago. And I'd like to say only 7 years ago. And from your kitchen table, I think all the best ideas come from a kitchen table or a glass of wine, in my opinion. But she started 50/50 Parliament, and the results, particularly I feel in the last general election, were astounding. I'm a director for 50/50 because once I really heard what Frances was doing, I wanted to help because it's an incredible cause. So Frances, welcome to the Women Leading Show. Tell us about 50/50 and all that you've achieved.
Well, 50/50 Parliament has a very clear aspiration. What we want is for women to have equal seats and equal say at Westminster, but not only in Westminster, but actually, in all elected bodies throughout the country. And as you say, it started, I was just really angry when I first discovered that 7 years ago, only 23% of our MPs were women. And I think that women's experience and opinions count just as much as men's, especially when it comes to running society, and that Parliament should really draw upon the widest possible pool of talent, including the 32 million UK women. But our democracy was never designed around women, and although women gained the vote, over 100 years ago now, they still have not got equal seats and equal say. So something has to be done. So things have evolved since I first set up a petition about this. And now what we run is the Ask Her to Stand and Sign Up to Stand program. And we inspire and encourage and support women in coming to our website and clicking Sign Up to Stand. And the women that click Sign Up to Stand with us, we're a cross-party organisation because this is about building a better democracy. It's not really a political issue. So the women that click Sign Up to Stand with us, we then send them a sort of personal political profile, which is an interactive sort of checklist of the steps that you need to take. We allocate them a 50/50 buddy, so it's kind of peer support, a friendly person, a friendly face in politics. We invite them to weekly bite-sized meetings with our Ask Her to Stand directors, and you're one of them, thank you, Jo, where they learn they get detailed advice from experts within each particular party. And for women from minority groups, we offer sort of bespoke support should they require it, because there are obviously some women face multiple hurdles and double discrimination. So we want to offer them additional support. And the results have been transformational, really. In 2019 election, just about a year ago, we inspired over 50 women who were actually part of our campaign, and 9 went on to win seats at Westminster. There were only 12 extra women elected, so it's now there are now 220 women at Westminster. But and at that rate, it's going to take till 2060 to get gender balance. So our job is really important, and it's wonderful, as you said, really, Jo. Over the recent months, we had a massive Ask Her to Stand Day on the 21st of November. Over 300 women clicked on our website to sign up to stand, and we're now calling them and helping them, and they just love the bite-sized meetings. These are kind of cozy sort of group chats where they can support each other, and the buddy is someone you can call to ask for advice and help. So it's really making a difference, and we're super excited about it.
Well, it's amazing. I mean, well done you. Yeah, right. It's just incredible achievement, because you could almost argue potentially that 3/4 of the women in Parliament are there in part thanks to 50-50 Parliament, which is incredible because it is such a long process, and you have really made such a difference to so many women. And I just think it's amazing, Frances.
Jo, no, we need to. I just need to be clear about that. No, not 3/4 of the women in Parliament are there because of us.
Okay.
There are 220 women in Parliament, and
no, the newly elected. Sorry,
you mean the increase, don't you? We're only 12 extra women elected, and in fact, 9 women who won seats were part of 50-50, but only 6 were extra women. I mean, I'm a bit of a statistician, which is why I like 50-50. But only 6 were 6 of the extra women were part of 50-50. So we accounted for half the extra women, which is great. I mean, that is, as you say, an impact. And what we need in the next election is we need 60 extra women to win seats. So what our campaign is doing now, we need to increase that, fivefold. So what our campaign is doing now is really trying to inspire a pipeline of women, and then we signpost them to the right support within each political party. And we're working really closely with all the parties. Of course, some have done a whole load better than others, let's face it. Labour is already 50-50. 51% of Labour MPs are women, but they've still got quite a lot of work to do in local government. And it doesn't mean to say that the sexism has been annihilated within Labour, but actually it's the Conservative Party that needs to do a lot more work. Only 24% of their MPs are women, so they need to double the number of women. Still, there was an increase in the last election, but so we were, and of course, the Lib Dems, 7 out of 11 of their MPs are women. So definitely on the opposition benches, this job is almost done. But on the government benches, there's a huge amount of work to do. But fortunately, all the parties are behind us in this. They're all wanting to build a better democracy, because the bottom line is Parliament is meant to be representative. Corporations are not called upon to be representative, but Parliament is a democratic institution. So it should be representative broadly. One would expect it to be, if statistically, if it was equally accessible to everybody, but it clearly isn't. So this is a historic problem. I mean, democracy's been around for 2,000 years, but women have only had the vote for just over 100. So we all need to work at this, because the evidence is that if you have a more diverse group of people making decisions, you get better decision making. So ultimately, this is about building a better Parliament. often people say to me, well, I want the best. Well, definitely, of course, at 50-50, aiming for 50-50 is not saying that we don't want the best. Of course, we want to level up. And that means we want to draw upon the widest possible pool of talent, including the 32 million women.
Yeah, well, and the thing that really is so relevant to this is it has to start from governance. And it's something I say quite often is that, you make that so clear in the book, you say it has to start from government because women have to be at the table, not the meal. I love that phrase. I didn't come up with that, but women have been the meal on the table. They haven't been sat at that table. And I think it's incredible. It's so powerful that you're steering this. And obviously, there are other groups that offer support because 50-50 is very much a supportive network. It's an opportunity to air your worries, concerns, the bite-sized meetings. I know from my own ones that, very much women are very open and honest with what really concerns them about running. And I think that has such value because with the best will in the world, that so many women really want to be in an able environment to talk about their own personal fears. And we wouldn't necessarily do that at your average Lib Dem meeting or your average Labour meeting. So 50-50 really fills that gap. What would you say is as the main benefit that women, you do quite a lot of research, I know, Frances, and you like your stats. What do you think is the main benefit from the 50-50 creates, so that the real value for the candidates?
Yeah, no, I would like to reflect that back at you, Jo. 50-50 is a friendly place. Politics can feel very combative, and that's because of the way it's been designed. But actually, 50-50 is a friendly space where people, because it's not just women, but can support each other and point each other in the right direction. And as you say, there's no such thing as a stupid question at a 50-50 bite-sized meeting. We are not looking to, we pass no judgment. We're not trying to select the candidates. All we're trying to do is we're sort of a recruitment arm, is we're putting them forward. So as you rightly say, in a political meeting, women might be concerned about putting their foot in it or something, and looking an idiot because they're less well informed or less knowledgeable about the political process. But we're not part of that. So women are it's a friendly place. That's, I think, the most important thing. And I just want to go talk a little bit more about this aspect of representation, because the other riposte I often get is, well, men can represent women. And of course, men can represent women, and women are very good at representing men. I mean, women are very good listeners, and they're very good at sort of conveying people's concerns. But the evidence suggests that men are much better at listening to women's concerns when there are more women in the room. When women are outnumbered 80-20, it can be quite difficult to have their opinions and their life experience really to be sort of amplified. So that's why you need a balance. And, from the men's point of view, I mean, let's take tax on tampons. There are aspects of life that men do not know anything about,
Right.
and are hugely relevant to half the population. And that's why we need women to have equal seat at the table, as you rightly say. In the past, women have always played a supportive role, supporting men into public life. And what we now need is men supporting women into public life, and everybody to be supporting women. So that's the sort of structure that we're creating here. It's a kind of 50-50 friendly network of supportive people saying, women, you're welcome at Westminster. Please sign up to stand because we need your experience and expertise.
Yeah, brilliant. And obviously that's something that really is endorsed with the message of 50-50. Wendy Chamberlain has recently been, she's been in a year now, goodness me, an MP, ex-police officer, mum of two, non-political background at all, almost stumbled into politics, which is a common thing for women, I think. I don't think most women don't set out to be a politician as their ambition. In fact, on the contrary, I'd say they probably wouldn't want to be. But women like Wendy are fantastic role models, I think, because they just prove that you don't necessarily have to have a law degree, a political degree. Obviously, she has been involved in law, but any experience is good experience. And when it comes from, especially with families and communities, which women on average know more about because they're the ones on average that mostly stay at home with their kids and know about the local community slightly more. Obviously, that's hopefully changing right now because more men are at home working from home too. So I just want to throw it open to Kim, Richard, and Jo, because obviously, you have met Frances along the way with our meetings with Women Leading. Do any of you have a question that you'd like to throw in?
Just before we do that, can I just introduce, we've got one of our other guests who's in the green room patiently waiting to join us, which is Sarah Sabin. So forgive me for just directing us slightly, but I thought I would do that before I just pop poor Sarah into the room.
Fantastic. Hey, welcome,
Hello.
Sarah. Hello.
Sorry, I was about a minute late. But I've been listening to you talk, Frances.
So,
thank you.
Thanks for coming back. So Sarah was in our, oh my gosh, I can't remember now, show way back when, a while ago now. It feels like years ago, doesn't it? With the way this year was
in July.
It must be July. So thank you for coming back. Obviously, at the moment we're talking about Frances Scott. Frances meets Sarah. Sarah meets Frances. And if any of you've got any questions for Frances and I talk all the time, so I've always got gazillions of things I love to chat to Frances about, and being involved with 50/50. But is there anything you'd like to ask Frances about what she does and about the message?
Yeah, I would like to ask something, which is, Frances, what is the most significant barrier to more women standing?
Yeah, that's such a frequent question. And on the whole, I don't like to focus on the barriers. I like to focus on the solutions. I think it's just a historic thing. Democracy has not been designed to ensure that women can participate. In fact, to be involved in politics, very often you need quite deep pockets. So women lack time, they lack money. Women very often play the lead parenting role, if we want to put it like that. So in fact, Parliament is like a great big game of musical chairs, and the seats get filled and the people stay there indefinitely. And so, if you're, it can be quite tricky, I think, for women to participate in that when there's very little opportunities to occupy a seat, because they've been there, the person has occupied it indefinitely. And it's quite sad, because actually being an MP makes a great second career. And I think it would be very useful to be able to involve many sort of older women at Westminster who, as you rightly say, Jo, have perhaps become empty nesters. They've got a wide range of experience of both parenting and juggling family life with a professional career. But the seats are filled. And so frankly, there are so many reasons that on the whole, I don't like to spend an awful lot of time talking about the problems. Let's focus on the solutions. And that is about inspiring women, encouraging them to stand, overcoming the imposter syndrome, breaking down the barriers, helping perhaps raise the money, talking about childcare, looking for supportive partners who are prepared to say, yes, you can do it. And it's also about making sure that these women are realistic about, the potential, and looking for the key seats, which is the next seat available, and becoming political about it. So that's what I like to do, is focus on the solutions.
No, I think that was an excellent answer, actually, and a very useful strategic choice. But it begs the question, what can we do to increase the turnover then, so that you don't get people occupying a seat for so long and blocking the introduction of new people? So what can you do about that specific thing?
Good point. Incumbency is an interesting situation in our democracy, and it's viewed as impolite to run against an incumbent. But I don't know. I'm not really here to offer the solutions. Parliament has to come up with the decision about that. We just need to point to the fact that something needs to be done. The Electoral Reform Society has discussed incumbency for many years. Incumbency also is a disadvantage for young men, anyone who's wanting to participate. Maybe we should have set terms. The US president can only run for 2 terms. But then, the disadvantage of that is that you might reduce the level of experience and political experience, at Westminster. And of course, the difficulty you face with incumbency is the people that have been there for a long time enjoy the job. And they're they're not the people that are actually going to be calling for a solution to incumbency. This is a real tricky issue. And I'm not sure quite what the solution might be. I mean, maybe MPs should have to reapply every time and face selection committees, and maybe there should always be 50-50 platform so that the selection committees see all the new talent that's available and can then weigh up the choice about whether you go with the experienced MP that you know and love, or whether actually it's time to look for some new talent. That might be one solution.
Well, certainly in the last election, one of the issues in the area I was living at the time was it was a choice between a younger and first-time male candidate and somebody really, really experienced. And actually, I was really encouraged to see that the younger candidate was selected in that one. But I can certainly see your point, and there's a real value in being an organization that shines a spotlight on what's going on, and I respect what you're saying in the sense that you can't necessarily also be the ones to find all the solutions. It's a much, we co-own that problem after all in society, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. It's our democracy, it's our parliament. It's just really important that we all think carefully about these issues and the people that are representing us, and the kind of democracy that we want to live in. And I just want to amplify the point that Jo made earlier. Again, there's quite a lot of evidence that some men sort of, when they're born or as little boys, they think, oh yes, I'm going to be the next president of the United States. And on the whole, again, this is not something that little girls aspire to, and who knows what the reason for that is. I expect there are many different sociological reasons. So we have found that women need to be asked 3 times before they will consider standing. There's plenty of evidence to support that, which is why we run the Ask Her to Stand campaign. And we encourage people to look for talented women or women that you think would make great representatives, and ask them once and twice and 3 times. You have to ask women again and again, which seems a bit of a shame. And of course, some might argue, therefore, well, they're not the right person for the job. But that actually isn't true. It's just because our system is not designed to accommodate women easily. And therefore, women perhaps face, as I say, imposter syndrome and some reluctance to get involved. But the wonderful thing is that the women who do get involved find that it's an inspirational, wonderful career. I mean, many of the female MPs at Westminster really enjoy their job, and they're very good at it. So we really need to encourage women wholeheartedly to get involved at the highest level in our democracy.
Yeah, and I think Richard wanted to pop in with something as well.
Well, I can do. Frances, I adore your dynamism and your energy. It's off the scale. It's extraordinary. We're talking about public service, and the vast majority of women are naturally adept at sustaining and nurturing others. And some of the ones that I know struggle to then include themselves in that. And I'm thinking of you and your energy. So, what do you do for yourself? But what's your advice, and what's your advice to women who say, Well, yes, I'll sustain and nurture myself in a minute when I've looked after everyone else first. Because you're going to need enormous energy. You need energy to do the kind of the things that you're doing. Okay, and I think that maybe, I don't know if it's cultural, I don't know if it's behavioural. Women tend not to say, I'll go first. You know, but I'll do it after everyone else is okay.
Oh, Richard, that is so touching. And actually, Helen Pankhurst phoned me the other day and said, Frances, are you okay? I mean, I was so touched by that. And Sam Smethers at Fawcett, you know, I'm very fortunate. I am actually surrounded by really, really caring people, and people like you and many of my team. I've got a fantastic team of people. It's really interesting. I mean, I find campaigning for 50-50 just, it's so exciting. I meet such fantastic people that it actually energizes me. You know, I mean, just being here with you today is wonderful. I'm so honored that you're prepared to listen to what I have to say, and that you sympathize and empathize with the cause. I'm very fortunate. I have 4 beautiful, wonderful children, and I love my family, and I've got a lovely dog, and you know, I go walking every day. I enjoy playing tennis. I used to be an antenatal teacher, so I used to help women prepare for birth and parenting along with their partners. Empowering women is just what I live for, and it's what I've lived for many years now. So it's just part of my DNA. In fact, I would be in a more sorry state if I didn't just follow this aspiration. My husband said to me when I did start this 7 years ago, he said, why are you doing this? Please don't do this. There are other people that can do this. And I said, you know what, if I don't do this, I will just burst. I just had to. And I think it's really wonderful for people when they find a passion like that. And therefore, it comes very easily to me, is my answer to you, Richard. I would be in more trouble if I didn't do it.
So what I'm hearing is there's passion, so there's purpose, and actually there's inclusion and self-inclusion. Do you see what I mean? I think that's the point I'm getting to, is that this inclusion starts with self. It's, you know, you can't pour from an empty cup. It's like, how am I going to nurture myself? So, and then this is what for me is exciting about women as leaders, because they're the giving to others is already naturally in place. So if women can top up themselves, then there's this natural flow and abundance that goes out to everyone else. And I bet you've got some research that backs that up.
Well, I don't know. Do they call it Maslow's hierarchy of needs? I mean, you know, I'm in a very fortunate position. You've got, you know, your sort of food, your home, or all sorts of things. The boxes have been ticked for me, and I was very happily married for 25 years. Sadly, my husband died 3 years ago, and that, to be honest, Richard, was an extremely difficult part of my life. But, you know, if you've got all your relatively basic needs fulfilled, then you reach a point where you can actually start to sort of, it's a bit like a volcano, you can start to give to people. And I am in a very fortunate position in that respect. So I enjoy it, and therefore I get a lot from this. So it's not selfless, and I have I have to say I have the most amazing team, and Jo is part of that. And the exciting thing is the team is building. You know, we've got incredible people joining us all the time. So I couldn't possibly do this by myself. It isn't just my responsibility. This is
the other exciting bit, because I think this is what women naturally do. They naturally model co-leadership, or what I'm fascinated about is co-leadership, rather than that hierarchical leadership. And so this is where women, again, are naturally modeling what's possible for us all to be more whole in ourselves when we're leading, rather than the old model, black and white, work is this, family is this, friends are over there. It's naturally being, you know, we're whole people. We have a way of living, we have a lifestyle. It includes what we're passionate about. It includes our service to our society. And we need this collectively, men and women. So, and the women are the ones.
And I just think I'd like to come on to ask Sarah in a minute, because Sarah's a leadership and coach for mostly entrepreneurs, but leadership is very much her bag. But I think also there is within 50-50, but also within politics, with more women coming on board, we're losing that division of politics. And it's a very much an accumulative, purposeful path that they're on collectively. So all the female MPs I've spoken to, and it's been many over the time that I've been involved in 50-50, they all are in WhatsApp groups. They support each other, but not just in party. And I think one thing that we really need to change and focus on, and this time has given us it, is the collective purpose. Because politics shouldn't be so divisive. It shouldn't be them and us. It should be for starters, respectful. And politics has been so disgustingly horrid and aggressive for so long. And I think that I personally have found, Frances, and I know I've shared this with you, that a lot of the women that I mentor, they say the aggression in politics is also what puts them off, amongst other things. And it feels like that is changing, which is incredibly exciting and really hopeful for where we're going. But I know that a lot of women are slightly changing that in their own way in politics generally. And obviously, like you say, at 50-50, we all work together to attract women. I wouldn't speak to someone who is a different party and put them off. Obviously, it's a collective cause, and that's what we should all be doing right now. Sarah, what would you like? Would you like to chip in with some thoughts on leadership right now? Because I know you've got lots to say on that subject.
Hi, Jo, and Frances. Thank you so much. It's so nice, so nice to listen to you. As Richard said, so much energy there.
Thank you.
So, how to boil this down in this context? So, carrying on from the theme about collectivism and co-leadership, I would like to think that we are all moving naturally towards that direction, because leadership is about other people. If you're not working collaboratively and collectively, if you're not thinking about the collective win, then I would argue it's not really leading people at all. And unfortunately, what tends to happen is when people get promoted in, say, a corporate environment, they're promoted purely on technical skills. So if you're really good at sales, you get to be promoted. But then what tends to lag is the emotional intelligence. So they're not so good at bringing up the level of the team in general. And that's a real shame, because collectively you can achieve so much more than you can with just one person being brilliant at something and everyone else being average.
Yeah, no, that's really, really the way forward, isn't it? That's what needs to happen.
Absolutely. I mean, and again, it comes back to design. Architecturally, for example, a donut design apparently leads to more collaboration. And I gather CCHQ, where is it? The Cheltenham place. Anyway, it's designed like a donut. Whereas, of course, the House of Parliament was designed in the Victorian times. And I gather that, the space between the two party benches is a sort of a swords, something to do with sword fighting anyway. And I this is so old-fashioned and completely unhelpful. We've got major problems to solve. I mean, coronavirus is obviously has highlighted a global pandemic. There are going to be more pandemics given the nature of the way we live now. But climate change is actually the biggest problem that we face as a collectively. And to solve this problem requires massive collaboration. And I do think that women's leadership styles are more collaborative, and it has been fantastic working I call it working across the political spectrum, whereas a lot of people who are political talk about the political divide. I really don't like that terminology. This isn't a divide, this is a spectrum. And in fact, even on one side of the house, you might have very similar opinions to others working on the other side of the house. Sometimes people have difficulty, women in particular, about which party to join. But at the end of the day, you just have to decide in a kind of nuanced way where your sort of values lie most, and then understand that if you're working within a particular party, you can change policy. It's much easier to change stuff if you're involved. And so all the way along, we say, look, pick a party. I know it can be quite difficult, but just pick a party and then work within that organization to try and help them move towards a vision that you might have. And it is all about compromise. And I guess I do think that women are good at compromise. They're good at collaborating, and this is the kind of thing that they can bring to an institution like the House of Commons.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, thank you so much, Frances. It's been fantastic talking to you. And obviously, just last quick plug for the book. So Frances' chapter is in here, as is
Yes.
myself. Kim,
and I was
Jo.
so honoured to be involved. Thank you. I can't, it's not showing up, is it? But thank you very much for inviting me to participate.
Yeah, no, it just felt like it wouldn't be the book that I wanted it to be if you weren't in it. So I'm really glad you are. And Sarah will be an author in our next book, Women Leading 2, which if you're interested in, please get in touch. Very thrilled to have you, Sarah. So let's come on to the final part of the show, and I'm really excited to hear from you all today. You're Woman of 2020, and I know quite a few of you have sent me your lists and been quite long, but actually talk about your list, but let's focus on the person that for you stands out for this year, the one person, and why. So Kim, we haven't heard from you much. Would you mind going first and sharing with us who your Woman of 2020 is and why?
It's a really tricky one, and I know I sent you a list, and actually I'm not going to pick one. I'm going to pick a lot of women in general, because it's been the traits that they've demonstrated that I think if you cut across, whether that's Jacinda Ahern or whether or not it's the lady who runs my nursery, it's the way that they have stepped up to really listen, and to listen to understand, not to interject, to be there for people. And Richard, you brought it up beautifully, which is very often women are very good at nurturing others and very bad at nurturing themselves. And I think we're also often quite bad at sharing how much we appreciate each other. And over the last year, particularly with COVID, I think people have come into their own, both men and women. But for me, the piece that stood out for me about the women that have really made a difference was they've stepped into their empathy. They've stepped into their communication style, and they've come into their own on being able to provide that safe space for people, particularly in a leadership arena where people right now are dealing with having to work remotely or non-remotely and feeling disengaged. And I think that ability to reach out and provide a safe space has been the game changer. And I think we can all learn from that, irrelevant of whether we're men or women. I've stunned everybody into silence.
Oh no, we've lost Jo. She was talking and then she's disappeared. Here she is. I was
contemplating too many things at the same time. One, that the fire is going out, and I need to sort it out. And two, I was just thinking, God, that's such a relevant point. That it's been such a challenging year, and it's been more important than ever to open up and share and be compassionate. So thank you, Kim. Let's come on to Jo Sumner next, and then we'll come on to Richard, Sarah, and then Frances. Just while I poke the fire, by the way, just I'll mute myself.
Yeah, you go for it. I think I took a very similar approach actually to Kim with that question, which is, number one, it's two women that I want to name, and I am going to name them, but they're women perhaps more in my life or my circle than necessarily in the public domain. So that's my wonderful, wonderful friend, Elizabeth Cairns, who is a climate activist who is working so hard to bring a stop to the HS2 project. And the other is a fantastic coach and leader called Joanna Martin of One of Many, which is a brilliant organisation supporting women around the world to come into leadership positions. And the thing that they have in common is facing really powerful and politically divisive and painful situations with an open heart. So speaking their truth incredibly articulately and with absolutely no hedging of what they mean, but doing it in such a way that they remain open-hearted to people who have a great range of opinion. And I've been really impressed. Joanna Martin in particular runs quite a large community on Facebook called the B1 Global Community. And during the height of the Black Lives Matter, I almost want to say explosion of activity and focus, she held that space so exquisitely beautifully. She set down the rules for the group. She invited debate and openness, and she let things run while keeping an eye for when somebody needed to step in and reset the boundary. And I mean, it was exquisite how she did it. It really, really was such brilliant leadership. And with Elizabeth, what I see is this passionate commitment to her cause. She's giving up so much of her own time to be on the front line supporting the campaign. I mean, multiple days of every single week when she's the main earner for her family. And she engages in debate with such a combination of passion and politeness. You know, it was interesting that politeness came up, that she includes all different opinions while remaining absolutely on target with her own and why she feels that so strongly and what the impact of not taking climate change seriously is. So for me, they've inspired me with the way in which they've held those boundaries and spoken their truth with compassion for others. So that they are my joint Women of the Year.
Brilliant, and hopefully we'll have Elizabeth on the show next year, because she was meant to come on this year, wasn't she? But I'm looking forward to meeting her. Let's go to Sarah next. Sarah, who would be your Woman of the Year?
So I actually started thinking about this only this morning, and I was racking my brains, and I remembered one of the leadership groups that I'm a part of on LinkedIn. There was an excerpt or quote from a lady called Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who is basically, so I'm not hugely into politics. I'll preface what I'm saying with that, but something about that post kind of really made me want to find out more about her. And it's just, I mean, what I read was amazing. So, you know, youngest ever woman ever to serve in US Congress, from a working class Puerto Rican family. She actually, you know, kind of says as well, I thought that politics was for people that had wealth, social influence and power. And it was only when she ended up going to this Indian reservation in Dakota where she actually started seeing it differently. And she started seeing politics as being about protecting the community. And that kind of inspired her to go into politics. And then there was one specific example of this year of when she was accosted by... I can't remember the guy's name, but a politician on Capitol Hill who basically called her an effing bee. And she went onto TV to speak out against violence towards women, aggressive behavior, and the kind of systemic sexism that exists in US politics. So she really kind of came up as top of mind for me when I was thinking about it this morning.
Yeah, I remember her post actually. It was very powerful, and it really caused repercussions, which is what we need, isn't it? Brilliant. Thank you, Sarah, for sharing. Richard, let's come on to you next, and then we'll go to Frances.
Incidentally, Joanna Martin trained me, was one of my NLP trainers more than a decade ago. Fabulous lady. Well, I am going to say this, that someone extraordinary has walked into my life the second half of this year. And so I'm mentioning her because she inspires me to want to be a better man. You know, I want to be a man that people can trust. And I think that's where a lot of the men's work is required. And women inspire me to be that. And this woman in particular, she's fabulous, and I'm so grateful to have met her. I'm going to mention my mum, and I'm going to mention my sister. And they are gradually including themselves in their lives, which is great. Their needs, I mean. But to pick out somebody, there's an extraordinary woman called Darshita Gillies, and she was, her story is, you know, if you know sort of Slumdog Millionaire, then, you know, she was brought up in a Mumbai slum. She now lives in London. She's married. She has a gorgeous family. And she is determined. I mean, she set up Munch. It's called MAANCH. That is a platform for interconnecting philanthropists, impact investors, and corporates to really be able to deliver and measure impact per investment in line with the UN's Sustainable Development Goals. So it's extraordinary what she's doing. What I love, though, is whenever she's interviewed about what she does, there's still this sort of culture from the media that forces her to say she's self-made, she got here by herself, you know, it's like she's this, it's still the sort of the heroic story that they're trying to pull out of her, because that, and it's so old, and she recognizes this. And she says, no, I wouldn't be here by myself if it wasn't for everyone else. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my devoted husband and my extraordinary daughter and our dog, you know, and our friends. So she stands in this space of, yes, here I am, and here is everyone else. And I love that. Another friend, I'm going to mention one more. I know I'm cheating. Solitaire Townsend is the founder of Futera, which is a creative sustainability agency. And something she did this year, she put out a list of, these are all the women you need to know in sustainability. You know, she doesn't go, look at me, or if you are looking at me, look at all these other people. So it's that, it's the inclusivity that these extraordinary women bring. Thank you for letting me cheat.
Brilliant. Thank you, Richard. And Frances. Oh, Frances wants to get
I'm
the phone.
so sorry. It's the daughter trying to get hold of me. How embarrassing.
No, don't worry. It happens. We're live. These things happen.
Okay. I'll get back to her as soon as we're over. The person I'd like to mention is Sarah Gilbert, the scientist who's working at Oxford University to develop a vaccine against COVID. And I think it just demonstrates, you know, women are good at stuff. And she's leading this. And she apparently emails people at 4 o'clock in the morning, because when you've got a passion about something, you know, she lies awake. She doesn't lie awake at night, but she might. I find myself doing this often. You wake up and you suddenly think, oh my word, that's a good idea, and you want to deal with it immediately. So I was listening to her on the radio this morning. I've heard her before. I think she's inspirational. She had some tough choices to make in January this year about which direction to take. And she's a mother of triplets, and I think that probably means she's got a lot of staying power and a wealth of experience. And she said one of the advantages of being a mother of triplets is that she has learned how to function without a lot of sleep. And so she's the person I would like to put forward.
Yeah, brilliant. She is. Oh, someone's sound has gone. Hopefully that's not me. Yeah, no, she is remarkable. She really is. I read an interview of hers recently, and she is so. She's just, I'm just doing my job, you know, and to do so much with such that is so transformatory. To just see it as her job. There's no ego there, is there? It's just that she's on a. This is just what she does, and she's a remarkable woman. Fantastic, thank you. Well, I'd like just to finish off with, for me, there are so many. Kamala Harris, for what she's achieved, even to get to VP for next year in the US, is, you know, we're only just opening the can of worm-stroke information of what she's dealt with to get where she has, bearing in mind who she is and where she's from. So I almost could make her my Woman of the Year 2021, I think, as well, because that woman, as will obviously the new, but putting the politics aside, but that woman will be in a position to make some huge changes and huge repercussions. And I think she's one of the most incredible role models that we will have for the next number of years. So that is my Woman of the Year. Well, brilliant. Thank you so much for watching and for listening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. Thank you for the people that are watching live. And if you're listening back to this, we hope you've enjoyed our festive show. I just need to show you my best Christmas jumper. And this is Nala's. Look, Nala's got a new... She looks great in her Christmas jumper. So I wish to thank all of you for coming on. Frances Scott, thank you so much for joining us from West London. Thank you for coming. Fantastic to hear your story.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been such a pleasure being here, and such a pleasure to meet you, Jo, and to be involved with your book, and such a pleasure to meet all of you here today. Thanks for your great questions, and thanks for your personal question, Richard, you know, about how to sustain yourself. I think it's a really important one.
Brilliant. And if you'd like to find out more about 50/50, go to www.5050parliament.co.uk, and you can find more about 50/50 and all social media 50/50 Parliament. Sarah Sabin, amazing coach, who hopefully we'll see again for sure on the Women Leading 2 book, and also the Women Leading show next year. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And yeah, back in here. Oh no, great! Thanks for coming on. A little last minute, but really lovely to have you back. Jo, Sumner, Kim-Adele Platts, awesome co-hosts as always. Love you lots, and look forward to seeing you next year for the Women Leading Message. Hopefully, a forum is what we're looking at, an event in March. So watch this space for that. Lovely to see you both, and Richard Bellers, you're awesome as always for being our, you know, women leading man. There's a few of you in the book, but you champion us so well in our message, and we're really super grateful. So my name's Jo Baldwin Trott. Lovely to see you all. Have a very happy, hopefully peaceful and well festive season, and we will all look forward. Can we do a loud goodbye at the end just to deafen everyone, and collective Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas.